A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise this Monday morning. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
It's the 19th day in the month of December 2022, counting down to Christmas. Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, many also counting down to the elections, I might add, and what a time it will be for at least, if not everyone in the country. But you know what they say about success? Having many fathers. Well, last night, what a spectacle it was. And a nerve-wracking match to watch for football lovers. Goodness. But at least for the neutrals, I'm sure that they had a lot of fun. Just looking at all of the intrigues, the back and forth. And so it was indeed a very interesting one. I know that I'm not sure how you usually have the courage to watch this kind of matches because it talks at the very heart sometimes. But yeah.
Well, this time around it was different.
You didn't, did you?
Oh, I did. This time around it was different for a number of reasons. Well, I missed the first half. I still want to see the two goals that Messi and the other fellow scored. But of course, the second half goals of Mbappe, I saw the two of them. That first one was, the second one was the goal. That first one was just like an opener for the team as far as I'm concerned. But you know what, Chamberlain? Yes, during the penalty shootout, I switched off the television because I was getting emotionally connected to the match, and it was looking like whichever side I was on its side wasn't going anywhere, so I just switched it off. I think after about 5 minutes, I said, you guys should be done with penalty kicks now. When I saw, okay, Argentina won, okay now, so how'd they happen? Well, Chamberlain, you are very, very correct. It was very, very nerve-wracking, and God, I don't think we have had such kind of a World Cup final in a while. And it definitely was something to watch indeed.
You know, there are just so many components to this match because just watching it at that time, I mean, look at the sea of heads. It's not just, it goes beyond all of the talents, you know, the five-a-sides. Yeah, I know you like going under the bridge to watch those fantastic young lads play football, but, you know, just watching that, sometimes you just think, when will we ever get to this league, this stage, Nigeria featuring at this level? Yeah, much as, you know, Africa gave a good account, no thanks to Morocco, fantastic showing, but you look back at the country and say, so what about us? What kind of lessons do we? There are just so many things, but look, it was a sweet match to watch all the same, whether we were there or not, which we'll get to talk about in the course of the program in here today. But yeah, we're back to earth, grappling with our own challenges here in the country. So we also counting down to the elections. Hopefully a lot of things rise and fall with leadership in the country. And so if we get it right at that level, you can imagine the kind of huge effect it will have on several sectors of this country. So many things will depend on that. And that's why we keep telling people, you have to make yourself available. You have to go out there and do something. Perform your civic responsibility, because if you don't, you have yourself to blame at the end of the day. Have you even got to, I know you said you were going to pick up your PVC. What's going on with that?
Well, that's the crucial part of this build-up to the election that you mentioned earlier, Chamberlain. Because, okay, so I went, right, and I was told that, look, we're not attending to newbies now, so to speak. We're not attending to Jambite. It was sound. I mean, we're the people that were being attended to at the time I went to my own local government in Ogudu here in Lagos. They said they were only attending to people who did transfers, renewals, and all whatnot. But that those of us who were registering afresh needed to come back after Christmas. And of course, it was one of the issues that we raised with the rec in Edo State when we had that interview with him last week. You see, it is one thing for us to appeal to people to play their role, get their PVCs and all. If people have difficulty, discouragement getting their PVCs now, I don't know how encouraged they would be to eventually want to use that card. And that's one critical aspect that we must not remonstrate. We must not play under at all, because at the end of the day, it's about the people. Everything is about the people. Yes, Chamberlain, you're spot right on the money when you say Nigerians needed to play their own part. Most certainly, we do need to play our own part. But how difficult can it get, must it be for people? And the most important thing, I'm glad, though, that INEC has been at the forefront of encouraging people to do the needful, putting word out there, communicating with Nigerians, pretty much. That has been something that INEC has been doing with various stakeholders, security, CSOs, the public, politicians, and that's good. But the crucial element of the election itself is people casting their votes. And without the PVC, the electoral law is very clear. Without the permanent voter card, there can be no vote. No one can vote without that PVC. How easily it would be for people to get it, that's another thing altogether. We have until January 22, according to INEC. Gratefully, that day will come, indeed, and people will be able to do the needful. But please, do the needful, dear Nigerian. And let INEC also be aware that as people go, and the more people go there and they do not get their PVCs, the more discouraged they are likely to be. I have tried like 3 times to get my PVC. It was only this last time that I was told that, look, you can't get it until after Christmas, which is next week. What day next week, of course, I don't know, but I'm going to make an effort to go. And I'm pretty sure that every Nigerian in various parts of Nigeria are doing the same. Those PVCs are crucial, and consequently, communication must be to Nigerians. I really wish there was a way, Chamberlain, that we will get information, maybe text messages to say, it's ready, come pick it.
Well, you know, I didn't give up very much, so I did several times before I eventually got it. But here's the thing, look, if people think that they don't have the time to go out there and thumbprint and perform that function, guess what? You actually vote when you don't vote. Because when you don't, you make it easy for those who you don't want to be there to just go right up there and occupy that position. So think about that as well. So you have to do what you have to do. All right, well, that's it. Just give us a moment. We're back in with the papers in just a minute. Oh boy, just take a look at Vanguard newspaper. It is that picture, the big picture. Well, literally, yeah. Argentina wins World Cup as King Messi hits football immortality. So there you go, that rivalry between himself and CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo. So has this been laid to rest now? Football aficionados and their fans will you know, depending on how they see it. So, but what a match, what a game, what a performance, what a man. There's just so many things about this, you know, about life's history. So, incidentally, he's bowing out with this one. So, well done. So, look at that lead story here on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. After doctors, mass exodus of teachers from Nigeria looms. So there you go. You know when we say a lot of things will depend on whether or not you get it right at the leadership level. Well, countries now are requesting for Nigerian teachers. You know when they thought, okay, let me just read the right straight up. The first one says, as UK eases conditions for Nigerian teachers, over 350,000 teachers certified by the TRCN may migrate. So there you go. If we here keep on saying their reward is in heaven, they're getting their reward in these other countries already. So where does that leave us? England looking for cheap labor, NUT. Well, It's not brain drain, TRCN. Teachers' welfare needs improvement, Adamolekun. So there you go. If we don't value certain things, those who do will go ahead with it. And that appears to be what is playing out here on the front page. And so when the captain saying, oh no, our education system isn't good enough, the health sector isn't good enough, well, that isn't good enough. Well, guess what? They're looking for our talents all over the world now. Well, look at the back page. Just flip to that back page. Mbappe snatches World Cup golden boot. What a performance from him as well. And goodness, it really was a spectacle of game to watch. And so that is Vanguard this morning, guys.
Leadership newspaper has this one on its front page. 67 days to go. 2023 elections won't be postponed. INEC declares. That story, of course, you'll find on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. Look at the writer. Says, electoral body ready to tackle logistical challenges, attacks on facilities. Serap demands arrest of politicians buying PVCs. APC, PDP trade words over flag bearers' identity. Well, you know, this whole buying of PVCs thing, is that, you know, story that is still making the rounds. How significantly that would impact anything, I guess we'll wait to see. One of the issues, you know, Chamberlain, that you know is making the rounds, of course, is the part where we're having cards, PVCs stolen or PVCs found in various ungodly places, if I dare say, here and there. And are those fresh PVCs or are those old PVCs? What are the implications on the people whose PVCs are found here and there? If those people don't get their PVCs, what happens to them? I don't know. Countless things to look at in that one. Of course, that picture is also on the front page. Argentina win World Cup, end 36 years wait. Most certainly they were working at that for 36 straight years. And don't forget, one thing that was also said is that Argentina is the third nation, well, fourth nation actually, to have won the World Cup the number of times that they have over time. You know, Brazil, I think, has won it 5 times. Argentina and I think Italy, I'm not sure, has won 4 times. And now Argentina, no, beg your pardon, Germany and Italy, I think, and then Argentina has won it 3 times. Well, more of that, of course, as Chamberlain said, we'll find as we go ahead this morning. Right under the nameplate, DMO raises 615.557 billion naira sukuk funds in 4 years. What does all that amount to? The details will continue on the inside pages of the Leadership newspaper this morning. Chamberlain.
And on to New Telegraph 2023, Atiku, Tinubu's war of words uncalled for. Ascribed to Shekarau. 93 million votes, my focus, Tinubu. I'll sweep Southeast votes, others, Atiku. Ogun APC, laments campaign billboards, banners destruction. Katsina denies PDP of campaign venue. Give APC second chance, minister. Atiku's only reliable contender. Saying he is the only reliable contender ascribed to Dino Melaye. So, in spite of all of those efforts by the peace committee or peace committees, because they do have them in the states now, you still get to see headlines that party states denying opposition campaign venues, and you just wonder that some of these current state governors, their parties were the ruling party now, they were not there before. They were allowed at some point to contest, and so they got in there. Now that there, many of them just seem to be shutting every other person out, which is something that everybody should frown against. It is not right. It goes against the law, and we should speak out about all of that. That cannot be allowed to happen. And then at the bottom strip here, you see Black Weekend. 7 killed in herders' reprisal. Auto crash, kidnappers' den. 17 injured. Vehicles destroyed as thugs attack APC's candidate's motorcade in Kano. Again, hoodlums touch court building in Imo. So you just wonder what is going on in Imo and in some of these other states. I mean, this time it's court building. Last time it was INEC office. And you just wonder what is going on with this. Is there incapacity to handle some of these things? Why do we keep having all of this? In spite of all you hear from security agencies, you still have these kind of stories. I mean, it really calls for really, really deep introspection and to find out what's going on with that one. Well, this is a bit of health info here. Study ties insomnia with lower back pain. So, if you've got lower back pain, you might have cause to get across to this study and see if some information here could help you. Well, that is it with New Telegraph this morning.
Newspaper, leads with a rather curious headline this morning and lists a number of states towards the 2023 elections. Of course, that's against the backdrop of what you read on the front page of New Telegraph, Chamberlain. Look at Daily Trust on its front page. Potential flashpoints to watch ahead of 2023 elections. That's it right there. Look at it. Southeast, Lagos, Kaduna, Plateau, Lagos, Borno on red list. Southeast essentially talks about at least 5 states right there. And one is wondering exactly what all of that means. The details you'll find on the inside pages. Hate speech, fake news identified as triggers. IPOB, Yoruba secessionists plot to stop polls. That's ascribed to the IGP. And actions government must take before polls. We want to find out who said that on the inside pages of the paper this morning. Of course, the World Cup story is also right there on the front page, right under the nameplate. Messi delivers as Argentina beat France to win World Cup. And a number of other stories right there. Why Atiku will defeat Obi in Southeast, ascribed to PDP Campaign Council. And untold death stories at Abuja Sport, where train crushed NTA accountant. Find all of that. Very rather sad story. That is a number of other stories on the front page. You can do the picking yourself, but let me just choose this one. How port concession saved Nigeria over 1.1 trillion naira in 16 years. That is ascribed to operators. You might want to find out exactly what that story is saying on the inside pages of Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Well, take a look at the Abuja Inquirer. They are already in a festive mood. I mean, look at the mask design right there. You see wishing us all a Merry Christmas, some nostalgia. And then speaking about that, FCT residents fear bleak Christmas. Uh-oh. Price soar, inflation gallops. Oh boy, no. Oh dear. Well, yeah, you just need to go ahead and take a look at that, and at least it will give you some info as to what to do, where to go, how to proceed with it if you are in Abuja. And then, unfortunately, the lead story may dampen your mood. Abuja witnesses 32 car crashes each month, ascribed to FCTA. 39 fatalities in 2022, 118 seriously injured. 1,120 prosecuted for traffic violations, 3,532 denied driver's license. So there's really a lot about this. When you ask yourself, why do these things happen? But I think a lot needs to, it speaks to how we use the roads, not just residents of Abuja, almost different parts of the country. Several people run the lights. You see all sorts of persons who have these licenses and people who are on the road. You ask yourself, how did these people even pass the test to get the license? Because they have no idea what some of those signs on the roads are about. They just have no idea. And of course, you know how these things work. The VIOs and the rest of them, they only look for the cars where they know they can find and get some revenue. Because several of those other cars that are never roadworthy, from a mile you could see them, they just ignore them. They act as though they don't see them, these officials. So that's what happens, really. Oh yeah, speaking of which, look at the front page there. 80 chairs for the president. You can see the birthday boy cutting his cake. President Muhammadu Buhari cutting his 80th birthday cake aboard the presidential aircraft, while the crew watch with interest, the paper so captions. So happy birthday, Mr. President. Well, that is Abuja Inquirer this morning.
Switch to this Nigeria newspaper, and what you have, it's also talking about the 2023 elections. Buhari to INEC. No reason for lapses in 2023 elections. And check out the riders. Politicians buying PVCs from poor voters are wasting their time. That's ascribed to the commission. Of course, you may want to go back to the interview we had with the spokesman of INEC on politics today. That was just yesterday. Find the details there. Violate electoral laws, go to jail. NYSC acting DG warns core members. It's very, very interesting angle to look at that. Of course, the World Cup is also captured generously. King Messi, Argentina rules the world. That's the story there. I'm pretty sure that you'll find the real story, the rest of the details, on the sports pages of this Nigeria. But look under that picture. Most MDAs don't account for money they collect. That's ascribed to Senator Rohide. You find the details of that on pages 9 and 15. As Senate summons IP's officials over missing 113 million naira sovereign-wide vote. What does that mean? How can it be? Is it missing, lost, misplaced, hidden? I don't know. The details you'll find on the inside pages. And I'm wondering how any MDA that does not account for money they collected should get another budget. That still beats me, because I wouldn't do that to any staff in any private organization. But hey, what do I know? Been told countless times that public service is not private service. Right beside the nameplate, crypto investors lose $235 million on panic selling amid auditors' exit. Crypto, Good luck. That's this Nigeria today.
Oh boy. You just wonder how these things happen. Agencies don't account for monies, they spend monies without recourse. There just appears to be not a lot of consequence for certain actions, and so many people just they appear to want to do what they want because they think they can get away with it. Who knows? Well, take a look at The Guardian next. Concerns as government shrugs off key inflation drivers. They're focusing on the economy, this one. Interest hike target only 10% inflation course. Analysts worry about energy crisis in January as EU sanctions commence. World Bank, inflation stems from lack of commitment to reforms. And then you get to see food shortage continues to ring alarm bells. Rigidity undermines efforts to rev economies. So, nothing of concern, which all of those candidates who are seeking for the top job should have something to do. And even the states as well. Those vying for those top jobs in the states, they need to also speak about economy, job creation, given that enabling environment, as we always refer to it. Ohaneze knocks EFCC over utterances on Ekweremado's trial. That's above this lead story. Again, many feared kill as gunmen attack Enugu community. Reveal your real name. Background. Atiku campaign dares Tinubu. You see that featuring. Kogi Abakoba knocks EFCC, says commission guilty of breaking rule of law. And then, of course, look at that picture. That's the picture of the day wherever you go today, I reckon. All over the place, I tell you. What a match, what a picture. Congratulations to them. That is The Guardian this morning.
Look at Daily Times newspaper this morning. On its front page, it has this one. 2023, politicians can't bypass beavers through bought PVCs. That's ascribed to INEC. Our story is coming right there again. Says It's an electoral offense to be found with a PVC that doesn't belong to you. Uh-oh. It's an electoral offense to be found with a PVC that doesn't belong to one. Please note and please be warned. We've made provision for spare BVAS machines in the case of failed machines. You want to find the description of that one on the body of the story. Serap asks Buhari to arrest politicians buying PVCs from poll voters. That story is very, very troubling and it's right there on the front page of the Daily Times newspaper. The details continue on the inside pages. Right under that picture on the front page, Nigeria's agricultural revolution created over 13 million jobs in 7 years. That's ascribed to the president. Find the details in the story. It says INEC has no reason not to be ready for elections. That story is also right there. Now, for frequent flyers, this seems to be a bit of a good news, rather above the nameplate. Airlines crash fares on local routes as Dana Aero commence operations. That good news? How pocket-friendly is pocket-friendly? You want to find out? The details you'll find in the body of the story this morning. That's the Daily Times newspaper today.
That is what we like to see almost all over the place. Healthy competition to the benefit of the consumer. So
absolutely,
it's always welcome, and of course with a big smile on my eye. So that wraps it up with a look at some of the dailies here this morning. But hey, look, Ifoma, Shehu, Muyewa, Kim, Aniefio, whoever you are, wherever you are, if it's your birthday today, like the president, happy birthday to you. Well, give us a moment. We will be back here.
Since 2019, offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, across the country have been soft targets for hoodlums. This has caught the attention of Parliament, and with the general elections just around the corner, the House of Representatives has set up a committee to investigate the matter to forestall further attacks.
The offices were destroyed nationwide during protests. Some of the protests have nothing to do with elections, or by the activities of Boko Haram or bandits or unknown gunmen. So these attacks cannot be attributed in the main to election violence.
If the suspect involved belongs to a particular camp, maybe the governor is in charge of that state, and some of his followers were arrested. You see a lot of pressure coming to us, pressure for release, for bail. Even when we deny bail, we charge to court. They go to the court and find a way and release their members.
According to statistics from the electoral umpire, from 2019 till date, 50 incidents of attacks on INEC officers have been recorded in 15 states. The breakdown shows that in 2019, 8 incidents from 4 states were recorded. The attacks on INEC officers hit an all-time high in 2020 following the NSAS protests, as 22 incidents from 9 states were recorded. In 2021, 12 incidents in 7 states, while 2022 has so far recorded 8 incidents in 5 states. They are Ogun, Osun, Imo, Ebonyi and Enugu states. While the INEC data attributes the incidents to hoodlums and unknown gunmen, the police say fingers point to secessionist agitators in the southeast and south-south.
And then the security guards that were employed as INEC are unarmed.
The INEC chairman is concerned that the 2023 general elections may be affected.
Should such attacks continue at the pace at which they are happening at the moment, the Commission may find it increasingly difficult to recover in good time for the election. If it's about stopping the attacks, yes, we can recover. But if the attacks continue, it will be very difficult for the Commission to recover.
Meanwhile, lawmakers are concerned that the attacks on INEC officers have continued because those arrested have not been prosecuted. They turn to the Office of the Attorney General, which is saddled with the responsibility of prosecution, and are shocked by what they hear.
As far as the office is concerned, we have not formally received any request for prosecution on that one. That is the content of our letter. But however, as soon as we receive, like all other prosecutions that are ongoing on,
the prosecution that are ongoing,
yes.
From which quarters did you receive
we normally receive reports.
Is it from INEC? Is it from police?
DSS.
Is it from
DSS.
How many?
There are many. I cannot give the figure exactly, but they are ongoing.
And this ongoing one, are they related to the burning of INEC offices?
Of course, yes. Some of them are related. Yes.
So you are contradicting yourself. You said you have.
No, I'm not trying to contradict. I'm just saying that.
This is your
Yes,
submission.
exactly.
Yes. It's your submission. You agree with this?
Exactly.
Thank you. I am further directed to inform you that the request referred above this office is yet to receive any communication on the investigation reports from Office of the Independent National Electoral Commission or any security agencies that investigated the alleged attacks on the...
Yes.
The electoral body on its part says it will continue to collaborate with security agencies, especially the Nigeria Civil Defense Corps, for improved protection of its facilities. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
All right, so Mr. Mike Igini, a former resident electoral commissioner for INEC in Akwa Ibom State, joins us this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Now, probably in spite of all that is going on, at an interactive session in Washington, D.C., the president did tell the team and those who we were speaking to that he's given INEC everything. They've got absolutely no reason not to be ready for these elections. And we've equally have seen some headlines saying that the elections will not be postponed. INEC did make that declaration. So considering, or in context, in consideration of all that seems to be going on, the challenges of security, the attacks on INEC offices, how should we approach all of this commentary coming through from the president and even INEC chair himself?
Chamberlain, thank you for having me. You see, in moments like this, the battle cry of any leader is to keep hope alive. And so the various profound statements that have been made by the president is clearly to show that given that around the world democracies are going through strain and stress, we must not dissolve into despair, but resolve to act to overcome. But more important, and this is very strict for the Mr. President, is the fact that in any democracy, any successful election is a common responsibility of all citizens of the country. But on the driver's seat is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And clearly, the statement that has come from the president in the last few months are quite encouraging and very profound. Because the greater legacy of any sitting president, particularly when he's no longer on the ballot on a final term, is not a success about sectoral achievements. It's usually what's recorded in history is whether under his watch an enabling environment was created that will enable the election management body, the EMB, to conduct a credible election so that critical democratic thresholds that were crossed, successful election by a civilian government, another from one party to another, and now we are now heading to 2023. He could not have said better than what he has said. And so the legacy that will be remembered for of the current president will not be about every other thing on sectors, but whether the 2023 election was able to deliver a promising and a peaceful handover of power. This is what he has started saying, and we are so encouraged. On October this year, for 3 days at Owerri, he made a profound statement that security, because I can tell you here, Chamberlain, that as of today, 67 days to this election, we have the law. INEC has developed procedures and processes to give meaning and purpose to the ballot as the best means of the expression of the will of the people in the democracy. What is left, which is what the president is speaking about, which we need to interrogate very well, is the fact that the environment security has become a key issue. And that is within the power of the president. And so when he said security must be neutral, they must remain apolitical, they must be firm and loyal to democratic values in the conduct of.
So if let me just, in addition to your response on security, so, you know, we've had the Chief of Defense Staff also say that they are under some sort of pressure in some quarters by politicians, but yeah, they will always resist that and do what they have to do. And then you see all of these attacks. So do we, should we be encouraged by his submissions that security will stand firm? And then that encouragement, if we are to be, how then do we juxtapose it with all of these attacks going on with INEC offices? It looks as if there are some people somewhere who are bent on frustrating this entire process from a security standpoint.
You see, Chamberlain, we have this saying that land disputes usually starts at the beginning of the farming season. This is where we are at the moment. Politicians is a period of campaigns. But very important is the statement from the Chief of Defense Staff, one of the very brilliant military officer we have come to know in this country. And that is that I want to confirm, when I say confirm based on my experience, having been in the system for 10 years before I left, is that I have said in this program and elsewhere that the elite of our country, politicians, are the greatest threat to our democracy. I think that the CDA, the Chief of Defense Staff, is obviously leveraging on what the message of Mr. President. And this is very encouraging because politicians, if you remember, the overt usurpation of democratic apparatus in the past was usually, initiated by politicians. In the background to this program, you saw a senior police officer who talked about the pressure. Politicians are putting pressure on security personnel, just as they do to INEC. That is true. That the CDI is speaking out is to tell you what is going on. That we have experienced over time. But the bad news to those who put pressure on either on INEC staff or on security is that the way the system has been designed now, there is nothing that a security officer can do for you. But however, with respect to security, this is where the commander-in-chief have to come in mightily. At this point, Chamberlain, I know with respect to INEC, which has already been the standard procedure, that INEC Academy is focusing on what we call implementation strategy. We have the laws, we have processes and procedure. The next thing, we know the devil is in implementation. That is what INEC is focusing on now. My message to Mr. President, on the basis of my own experience, having also had the privilege of working under two electoral chairmen of two commissions and under two presidents, including himself, is that this is the time for Mr. President to have regular briefing from security chiefs in terms of their strategy. The president needs to know the strategy they are putting in place, because the president will not move from Abia State to Zamfara to implement security strategy for this election. The security president need to give to Mr. President their strategy with respect to the following. One, what are their security implementation strategy to deal with thugs who want to curtail citizen participation? Number two, they must need to tell Mr. President security strategy with respect to the issue about vote buying. I know that with respect to INEC is doing its own already in terms of arrangement of the polling unit arena, is doing that already. This is the role of Mr. President. He needs to have briefing on all of these issues. And with respect to the attack on INEC office, let me be clear here, by way of reinforcing what the commission has put out in the last 24 or 48 hours. It is that no amount of attacks that will change what will happen in 2023. In any case, beyond the conspiracy theories, these are not new to us as a people. Regrettably, it will appear that violence has become part of our electoral process. It's a shame to the political elite of our country.
Well, Mr. Igini, you've listed a number of issues. Of course, some of them, Chamberlain asked you questions around. Perhaps by way of, I'd like you to, help us understand which one of them is the most, should I say, critical or dicey that we have to look at, failing which the elections might be in jeopardy. You've talked about the buying of voter cards by politicians, the statement of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, about pressure by politicians, the continued attacks on INEC offices, politicians still doubting the credibility or the confidence or fidelity of INEC processes, and the chairman of INEC being under pressure to scale down certain procedures that will make election rigging difficult or be removed from office. Of these five, which of them do you think is extremely critical for us to pay attention to, failing which the elections of 2023 February are in jeopardy?
Thank you very much, Ayo. Very critical is the need for absolute security neutrality. This is what the president has spoken about over and again. Absolute neutrality. The INEC is doing its work. It is work in progress from what they are doing there. Number two, there is a strategy iron by politicians over time. It's not new. You see, an old woman is not old when it comes to the dancing. She knows. One of the strategies is to bring about disinformation, misinformation. Within the weekend, I saw a video by a young man who made all kinds of claims about INEC procedure. Now, because of misinformation, I've been hearing about issues about what you call preloading of beavers. There is nothing like preloading of beavers, which has accentuated the criminal acts of, from what we are hearing, buying PVC. This is not going to happen. Ayo, the problem we have is that quite a number of politicians are totally uneducated about, they don't know about INEC procedures and processes, that there is nothing like pre-loading of beavers. You recall in 2015, 2019, they used to talk about pre-loading of corridor. What they meant then was that for all INEC PVC that goes to the corridor, it will definitely be swiped. It will indicate on the corridor memory as unsuccessful. At that time, what they needed was to now, the PVC they bought was to say that having not succeeded, they now back it to what they call incident form. Ayo, no more incident form. The system have moved on. Regrettably, shamefully, the behavior, there have not been a change on the behavior of politicians to complement the innovation that have put in place. So that is not going to happen. Furthermore, on the issue about result upload, let us be clear here. Section 60 is very clear. What is now new, which people are talking about, which is the new procedure, is that by virtue of Section 60, the presiding officer, the results are going to be uploaded simultaneously to both the server and to the IREV for the people who have cast the vote to see. Let me be clear here. In electoral democracy, those who count the votes do not matter, but those who cast the votes, they will be allowed to see the results real-time, simultaneously. That is why power is back to the people.
Okay.
The whole of the panic that is going on, Ayo, is on account of this. So those who have doubt, which what you refer to, how can you doubt a system that have been used to conduct over 105 elections successfully, particularly the off-season governorship election, Anambra, Ekiti, Ondo, and the last election is on your Osun election. Well, Nigerians, power is back to you.
Well, Mr. Igini,
don't listen to these people.
Well, a number of so many issues to raise, really, but I know that we're counting down. When you say, and that's been adduced, of course, from information all over the place, that the INEC chairman is under pressure by politicians, the chief of defense staff is also said to be under pressure by politicians. What is wrong with calling out the specific politicians that are making these claims by the people who say that they are being put under pressure so that they can back off? And then Nigerians can know that the politicians will have a clear, mandate to say, look, this is a no-go area. What is wrong with name calling out these individuals who are doing these things? You may or may not know them. I'm not asking you to name names, but what is wrong with calling out the specific politicians who are putting these officers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under pressure?
Ayo, I agree with you 100%. And that is why embedded in my call, respectfully to the president, to ask for regular briefing on implementation strategy, is that the president can get that information from the Chief of Defense Staff, also from the Inspector General of Police, and all the heads of security, because it is very important. With respect to that of INEC, you see, an umpire is like a sitting judge. Judges are the least person to be able to defend themselves. I am confirming to you that those pressures are there. In fact, remember that under Jagatan, there were open call, paid adverts signed by people. But let me say this here, that those calls will amount to nothing, because Section 157 of the Constitution of the Fatherland clearly protects the office of the chairman of INEC, national commissioners, and resident electoral commissioners. Look, their removal may be initiated by a sitting president. It must come by way of an address to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to be supported by 2/3 majority of votes, and the grant for removal of INEC chairman, national commissioner, or recs are stipulated. It can only be according to the Constitution, not for any other reason. And that is one for infirmity of the body or of the mind, or for a misconduct. So anybody who is dreaming about removal of INEC chairman, you are making a mistake. It's purely, and I want to put an end to this conversation about this removal of INEC chairman. Look, politicians, you are wasting your time. Let me re-emphasize. INEC chairman cannot sign any electoral documents on election day. A national commissioner cannot sign nowhere under the regulation of the system that allows INEC national commissioner or a rec to sign any document on election day. So focusing on these people is a mere distraction. And that is why the Nigerian people must remain focused. Remember, Ayo, that the battle of the grasshopper will usually be a feast for the horse. We must be focused on what is ahead of us. The issue about vote buying, which is one of the areas we need to deal with now.
We'll come to that. My apologies, Mr. Igini. We'll come to that. But before we have the votes, we have to have the voter cards. And that's one of the critical issues here. I mean, you may have heard Chamberlain and I talking about, people getting their voter cards and all of that. And I want to believe that INEC has their processes, done and dusted on that. But there is that issue which you are very well aware of, and many people just want to put that to rest as well. The PVCs that were found in different places all over the nation. What are the implications of that on disenfranchisement or not of the people whose cards those found were supposed to be? How did they get there in the first place? And how do we ensure that the people whose PVCs were found in various places, in various parts of the country, are not disenfranchised? What are the implications of that to this election for you?
Ayo, first, let us make a distinction. I am very, very sure that the PVCs that have been dumped, found in various locations across Nigeria, are not the current PVC of new registrants. I want to be very clear on that. Now, the PVC were old PVCs uncollected. Now, politicians, bots, warehouse, don't forget that they broke into INEC offices, even for the 2019 election, 2015 election, they broke into several offices and carted away INEC PVCs, many of which had to be reprinted. Now, those PVC were carted away in terms of implication now. For now, they have nothing, they are wasting their time because they did that because you have Section 49 and Section 53, two of which have been repealed. Section 49 of the old act turned out to be a section for rigging elections in Nigeria. That has been repealed. we now have Section 47, which you talked about during your background remarks. Now, Section 47 is that made it compulsory that for you to be admitted into the polling unit arena, you must have a PVC. Section 53 of the previous act talks about total number of registered voters. That was what encouraged politicians to buy and warehouse PVC, because all they needed, because at that time, they were what we call incident form. Incident form is gone. So what they are doing now, they are barely wasting their time. I think what is important with respect to PVC that people need to know is that for those of you who have done transfer, for example, if you were in a Tiosa local government before and you have transferred to Surulere, or you were in Ethiopia East local government or Delta State, and you are now transferred to Ethiopia West, when you are going to collect your people, which are now available, you go to the place you are transferred to. What we have seen from the report I'm getting is that many people, I mean, there are people who have called me, they went to where they had transferred from. Your PVC will not be in the location where you are transferred from. You go to the new place. Now, with respect to the crowd that you see, I am sure in the next couple of days, you are going to be hearing from INEC other procedures they are going to use to ease the crowd, because what can basically be done now that we have youth corpers. So in a local government where you have an average of 12 wards, we could get about 12 youth corpers, assign 100 PVC to each of them in the local government. So everybody that comes, you go to each of your ward, all that crowd will dissipate as quickly as possible. So that
Mr. Igini, let's talk about this before we wind down. You were going to make a point about vote buying. Now, we know that all of these measures that INEC has put in place on the day of election itself is a different dynamic. It's a huge challenge. The Commission has spoken that much about it. Positioning of the cubicles, ensuring that vote buying becomes history. What should we expect? Because this is a major headache, not just for INEC, but for the electorate themselves. What should we expect moving forward such that we don't have that scenario playing out on election day itself?
This is where the President and Commander-in-Chief also have to come in to complement what INEC is doing in terms of security. In effect, there are things I'm hearing right now in the last couple of weeks from the security sector, which they are going to do. And again, I'm also very delighted at the current withdrawal limit CBN policy. In fact, for me, I am advocating very strongly for what we call a cashless election day policy in our country, so that those who think that they want to devalue the ballot, which ought to be the best means of expression of the will of the people, they will have to fail. Therefore, vote buying, as I have said over and again, is a terrible thing that must not be allowed to happen. Therefore, the Commander-in-Chief will need to ensure that relating with the service chiefs, all those who are going to be posted as security personnel to polling units, they must be given the responsibility to watch out for those who will come around the polling unit arena. Beyond INEC, repositioning of the cubicle in such a way and manner that it will be difficult, if not impossible. But in any case, Shambale, I'm also aware, and it was reported before, that there are also plans to ensure that you have what you call deployed personnel to various locations. But before then, what we are now hearing part of those who are harvesting information of the PVC of individual, which is amount to nothing, is the fact that with this CBN policy, which from the electoral point of view, beyond other issues that have been raised in terms of the overall implication on the economy and so on and so forth, it's quite easy for the elite in this debate about the limit of withdrawal or cashless policy. They have been making all the argument in the name of the poor man, in the name of the ordinary person. I have not heard any argument about, we the big men, it's going to affect us. They are not talking about that now. They are using the name of the poor people to make that argument now. Quite frankly, I am fully in support of a cashless electoral process, particularly on election day. And in any case, Chamberlain, if what I'm hearing from some sector is anything to go by, what it means is that they are going to put under watch. They are going to put under watch key individuals who are close to various political parties, who are going to be used to be transferring money. Because if you are not the one transferring money because you have harvested information of people, the security want to know what kind of business are you doing that you are transferring money to people ahead of the election, which is a violation of Section 121 of the Act. Chamberlain, let me be very clear to you here.
That will be very interesting to
power
see.
Is back to the people.
I just say people cannot dash anybody any money anymore. On the lighter note. Oh boy. All right, Mr. Mike Igini, former resident electoral commissioner for INEC. Thank you very much indeed for your time here today. Okay, well, we'll be back in a moment and still talk about election matters, politics, so don't go away. All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, indeed, we're turning attention to Taraba politics. And as you've seen there, Ibrahim El-Sudi joins us next. He is the chairman of APC Taraba State and former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Taraba State. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, so many things appear unclear at the moment because yesterday, for instance, the Presidential Campaign Council for the APC in Taraba State was launched. But there are different signals as to what is going on because there are reports about some persons going on and tearing up posters, several people disagreeing with what happened, saying, no, that could not have happened, that committee did not do its due diligence, while others say, no, the committee was actually inaugurated and things stand. So from your perspective as the chairman, what is the current position of things now?
Well, let me foray into the antecedents or give a synopsis of what transpired as regards to the Presidential Campaign Committee in State. When somewhere, I think sometimes early in October, the list of those that are members of the Presidential Campaign Committee, those heading departments of the campaign committee, and other notable individuals that were supposed to participate in the committee were issued out by the Presidential Campaign Committee. Now, we realized that Taraba had no coordinator. It was written pending. And I quickly rushed to the Presidential Campaign Office. I met the secretary of the committee, Abiodun Falake, and inquired why Taraba does not have a coordinator. And he quickly replied that it is due to the fact that just some few days ago, the Federal High Court, Jalingo, had nullified the primary election of All Progressives Congress in Taraba State. And therefore, it will be foolhardy for them to give the candidate, Senator Emmanuel Boacha, the coordinatorship. And I genuinely and instantly told him that the Minister of Transportation, Engineer Moazu Jaji Sambo, is qualified to coordinate the Presidential Campaign Council until issues are resolved in court. He did not say anything, but shortly thereafter, on the 20th of October, Moazu Jaji's name appeared as the coordinator. And I was very happy. And I texted him congratulating him for his appointment. Little did I know that there will be problems. Instantly, just some few days he now requested for names, nominees for campaign council members. A letter was written to me, or a text was written to me that I should nominate 5 people. The gubernatorial candidate was requested to give 5 names. Some senatorial candidates were requested to give 2 names, some 1 names. But there are some people who were requested to give 10 names. My expectation was that as the coordinator, the Minister of Transportation and the coordinator for Taraba State will invite all members, because we have categories of members. We have automatic members. I, as the chairman of the party, am an automatic member.
Is it the same thing for the EXCO in the state?
No, it is not the same thing for the EXCO. But for the chairman, state chairman, they are automatic members. Then we have candidates who emerge in the primary election as members of the PCC. We equally have former governors and deputy governors, former deputy governors, as members of the campaign council. And then we have speakers and deputy speakers, if they exist in that state, or the officials of the House of Assembly, the principal officers, as members of the campaign council.
Did you write him to notify him that this is what the procedure is expected to be?
Well, I didn't write him, but I expected he should know that these are the compositions. But I discussed with one of his PAs. I made frantic efforts to meet him. We even fixed one day, but he disappointed.
To discuss the same matter?
To discuss this matter. He could not give me audience at all. Several times I attempted to see him. He locked me up. For goodness sake, I'm the state chairman. And I see no reason why he should not invite me. For whatever reason, he should have invited me for a discussion on how do we go about this issue. He did not. And all those automatic members were never ever called. Maybe some of them were called, but majority of them were not called. Not a single candidate was invited for any meeting. Then on the 25th of November, he wrote a letter, which I received on the 2nd of November, that...
Who signed it? Was he the one that signed the letter?
Somebody signed for him.
Okay.
Informing me that the State Executive Committee have been appointed as members of the Presidential Campaign Committee in Taraba State in advisory capacity. If we are to advise you, you are supposed to call us so that we sit down on a round table, discuss on the blueprint of how to go about the campaign.
So is it the one titled Appointment of Taraba State APC EXCO as members of the Taraba State Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council?
Exactly. So he never called us for any meeting. Then suddenly, on 16th, one of his PS, Umar, called me to tell me that the campaign council will be inaugurated on 18th. That is yesterday, Sunday. I said, how
But there was a letter to that effect, wasn't it?
There was no letter to that effect. But I asked him, why did you not write? He said he had the letter since in the morning. I said, this is around 8 o'clock. I said, why are you telling me this?
So did you see any letter signed by Right Honorable Jerry Manwe, State Deputy Coordinator?
I only saw it on the social media.
You didn't receive it?
I didn't receive it. And I made an inquiry at the State Secretariat whether anybody collected such letter. Nobody collected it.
Because it was addressed to the chairman, All Progressive Congress, Taraba State, Jalingo.
Yes. I saw it on social media.
You didn't receive it?
I didn't receive it. And in fact, in my own culture, I sign to receive any letter that is written to me. So nobody ever gave me, So we were shocked and surprised. We now had to go on social media as they did to tell them of our displeasure that there was no wild consultation.
Why social media?
Why social media? Because it was in the night. And therefore, we could not write anybody, we could not write the minister any letter.
You said you were able to reach Mr. Faleke and recommended and suggested that the minister be the state coordinator.
Yes,
so
he was my colleague in the National Assembly.
So why couldn't you reach him with a call rather than go to social media?
In fact, we saw it on a social media. Since they have bypassed us, we equally had to, act the way they acted. And I was inundated with calls from my Christian brothers. I am a Muslim. They said, why do you fix inauguration of a campaign on a Sunday? I didn't have any answer. So we had to write another letter showing our disdain that we are not a party to what was going on.
Who did you write this one to?
We didn't write specifically to anybody. It was a press release signed by my secretary. And, what even disturbed us is the composition of the Presidential Campaign Council in Taraba State. The coordinator, being the minister, is from Jalingo, Northern Taraba. The deputy is from Karim Lamido, Northern Taraba. The secretary of the committee is his cousin, Barrister MB Mustafa, from Jalingo. I mean, if there were consultations and meetings, this wouldn't have arisen. But the youth leader equally was from Northern Taraba, and the organizing secretary too.
Did you see the response to the letter that you wrote, where they said, well, while the state exco has a right to raise some issues, but that they also did say that the attention has been drawn to recent publication by Honorable Fidelis Francis. You're aware of that letter?
I'm aware of that. I saw that letter.
Did you authorize that letter?
I authorized the letter written by the secretary, and they responded immediately, denying those things we raised.
Yeah, because they said that while the State Campaign Council of the party has immense respect for all its members, it will, however, refuse to tolerate such publication which is geared to stunt the party's growth and also undermine all necessary efforts of maintaining their fair and just system. So the party frowns at the measures, the strategy that you adopted to address.
Which party?
The party, this is signed by Muazu himself.
Well, I did not see that letter, but he's just trying to defend himself. He never called any meeting. He appointed a coordinator in Northern Taraba. This is somebody who contested an election.
This is a letter which you say you didn't see. That's the one on the screen now. That was directed to you, which you say you didn't get a copy.
I didn't get it.
Ask anybody.
I didn't get it. Now they appointed a coordinator to coordinate the activities of the PCC in Northern Taraba. A candidate, a senatorial aspirant, who was declared the candidate, but somebody else took him to court and his election was nullified. You now make him a coordinator to superintend over an election which he has been, booted out by the court. Okay, the same thing with Southern Taraba, where DSK, who incidentally was the person, that is Davis Abokente, who incidentally was the person that took Imabacha to court, was given the coordinator for Southern Taraba. And he did say in this studio, that he had his own candidate, that there was no contact by the party at the national level, and therefore he had his own candidate for senatorial seat. Okay, so and you give him coordinator in the Southern Taraba, he will work against our candidates. Our candidates are supposed to participate because they have a stake in the campaigns and the elections that will take place in 2023.
Let's see if you understand what your bone of contention is. First, are you upset that he, the Minister of Transport, is the state coordinator? You're okay with that because you recommended it?
I initially recommended, but his recent behaviors, attitudes, and dispositions towards certain people.
So the key thing now
leaves much to be desired.
So the key thing now is that those in the camp of Senator Boacha were not reached out to become part of this team. That's where the problem is.
That is where the problem is. As the party chairman, that is where the problem is. Those that support the candidate of the party is not Imabacha's camp, but APC's camp.
But
because we have a candidate.
You also alluded to the fact that there are still court cases right now. So is it going to be a good decision to bring in people from his team? Because the party says, we'll wait until all court matters are sorted. So what if that's what the party wants to do? When all the cases are resolved, then they can bring in several other people to the team.
As far as we are concerned, the Court of Appeal has made pronouncement that he is the candidate.
But there are still other cases
that
are pending.
There are other cases, they can never be different from this other case that has been decided.
But we cannot tell.
I believe that.
It's a belief, but we can't tell for sure because he also believed that he was not going to lose any of the cases in court, which
but
he lost
for whatever it is worth, the minister has failed in his responsibilities as a coordinator, as a unifier. I thought he will unify the party.
Is that
bring
why
all contending forces?
Is that why
within the party hierarchy? But he has failed to do that.
But is that why people then went and began to tear the posters that had the presidential candidates, the VP candidates, and some state candidates? They were tearing the poster that was put in place by Moaz
I believe that was a setup, either by those that are supporting the minister or by PDP. I am not very sure. The police is investigating the issue. They just want to blackmail and paint Imabacha's camp black.
But you have heard that some of them say that it were people from Imabacha's
team. That is somebody that was interviewed by Umar A. Umar, who is a PA to the honorable minister. Why can't they take him to the police? And from the grapevine, what I understand is that he was called upon to say what he said.
Called upon by who?
He was called upon by maybe Umar A. Umar, who interviewed him. As of today, he is not even in Jalingo. Why didn't they hand him over to the police?
But has he denied what he said ever since then?
Well, he denied it to some people, that because he was coming from PDP, and because of certain activities he did, they set him up that they will,
Do you have it on record, like the one he spoke previously?
No, I don't have that on record. I don't have that on record. But some of our people, our executives, reached out to him. He said he was compelled, he was cajoled, and hoodwinked into saying what he said.
All right, let's go to Lagos.
And more so, Imabacha's posters were equally torn on that same day.
By who?
By some people. I think they were
not
arrested.
the same person who spoke with the interview with the PA, as you said?
No, it is a different individual, but they are in the same group.
Okay. Go ahead, Ayo.
No, two questions for Mr. El-Sudi. You gave us a background to the current, impasse, so to speak. But did you see this situation coming? You nominated suggested the coordinator that was eventually put in place for the PCC in Taraba State. Did you see this? Was there a build-up to what is now playing out in Taraba State? Has there been some internal wrangling, some in-house displeasure within the APC in Taraba State before this that is playing out now?
It is a common knowledge that there were a lot of wranglings, a build-up to the primary election that took place that had our candidates. Some people were aggrieved. They were not happy. And some of them, like Senator Yusuf A. Yusuf, appeared in this studio. Chief David Sabo Kente appeared before this studio and ventilated their anger and dissatisfaction with what happened. But as an establishment person and as a law-abiding and legally minded person, I am bound by whatever transpired as a result of the committee that was set up by the National Secretariat. They called my name. I'm not ready to join issues with them because he who descends into the arena of a conflict will not escape the dust of the encounter, said Okuta JSC. Already I'm in the thick of this mess. It is as a build-off of the primary election that some people are dissatisfied, they are disenchanted, they are disgruntled, they are not happy with the emergence of certain people.
Yeah,
and
just
therefore,
1 second, Mr.
they
Elsudi.
gang up to frustrate what is happening.
Yeah.
Some of them, in that group...
On that case, just 1 second, Mr. Elsudi, if you can hear me. I mean, you are the chairman of the state. You are a major stakeholder. I mean, I think I believe that you made that clear earlier in your conversation with us. One would expect that whatever it is that was happening within the APC in Taraba State will be under your purview. There are those who would wonder then if these things are happening now and you are raising these issues that you are raising now, it would seem like you were superintending over a situation where you couldn't control and consequently the national body had to step in.
Well, I couldn't control because some people have made up their minds to fight me because of their perceived misconception that I am supporting a particular person or a particular group. And I was completely neutral. I did not appoint those who go to conduct election in Taraba State. I did not appoint any person. I was just a neutral person to supervise, or rather, to make those that went for the election, comfortable. Now, in this imbroglio, I was able to write the Director General of the Presidential Campaign Council, His Excellency Lalong. So most of them, they have been battling. Okay. They have been battling to get me removed.
Just one more
as the chairman. So they don't even recognize me as the chairman.
Just before we go, so as things stand today, are you going to be working for the presidential candidate via your party? That's the APC's PCC.
Obviously, we brought the presidential candidate. On the day of the election, most of them that are parading as conveyors or supporters of Asiwaju were not even in Eagle Square. Majority of them. And some of them that were there did not work for Asiwaju. It's a non-fact. And therefore, we are assiduously going to work for Tinubu.
All right, we need to...
And Shetima.
Ibrahim El-Sudi is the chairman, APC Taraba State, and former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Taraba State. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Well, we have reached out to the Minister of Transport, so we'll get him to also respond to some of the allegations made here, as you have heard, but that will be much later. We will be back in just a moment. We'll be talking about football, the recently concluded World Cup, all about that and more in just a moment. Stay with us. You know how it is with football matters. It never really ends. You know, you can even watch the replays time and time again and just love it, depending on who you support. Well, this morning we had two gentlemen joining us to discuss the just concluded FIFA World Cup. Ida Peterside, former Super Eagles goalkeeper, as well as Shuaibu Gara Gombe, former chairman Gombe State Football Association. He's also He's the chief executive, actually, of Green, White, Green Sports Center. And he's also the former chairman, Gombe United Football Club. So they both know football. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program here today. Mr. Peterside, let me start with you. What a match it was yesterday, and I'm sure you were glued like several other football lovers. Did the team you supported win in the first place?
Yes, obviously. The whole world supported Messi. It's not about supporting a team. I'm not Argentine. I'm not French. I'm a football person. We all wanted Messi to win. And thank goodness, Messi won. You know, people are saying Argentina won the World Cup. Nobody believes that. We all say Messi won the World Cup, and that's what the world wanted to see.
What does this do? Does it put an end to that debate between Messi and Ronaldo because he's won this World Cup now?
A friend called me yesterday and said during the penalty kicks that they should make sure that somebody's sitting very close to Ronaldo in case Ronaldo collapses, because the rivalry is unbelievable. You know, they did not create it, the fans did. But it has been good for football in the last 10 years. Again, congratulations to Ronaldo. I say Ronaldo he's a GOAT on his own, you know, one of the greatest in the world. But Messi yesterday was outstanding. Messi deserves the honor. Messi has won 7 Ballon d'Ors. Messi won the Copa America last year. Messi has won the World Cup this year. For me, Messi is the greatest.
I think we lost Mr. Gombe, so we'll try and get him back such that we could get his perspective, because, I mean, being involved with a football club, running a football club, I'm sure he'll be watching that match with a different kind of mindset. But, Mr. Peterside, in terms of officiating, probably before you move on to tactics for both teams, how did they stand the test for you?
Well, there's been a lot of debate. The debate is who officiates the game. Is it the VAR that officiates matches these days, or is it the central referee? It's been a combination of both. I'm not sure it's been a bad World Cup, you know, because the VAR has helped us to caution some few things. When the Messi goal came in, when we saw the third goal of Messi, a lot of people felt it was offside until we saw the VAR, and the VAR cleared that aspect. So, yes and no. It's been a give or take issue with the referee in this World Cup, but if I would rate the referee, it's been about 80%.
All right, Mr. Gombe, we have him back now. Watching that match, as someone who has run a football club, you've led an FA, you might have been watching it from a different perspective, because there were several other people who were watching back here who couldn't but just imagine, wow, Super Eagles should have been at this World Cup. How did the whole scenario play out for you, Mr. Gombe? I'm not sure you... Did you hear me, Mr. Gombe? Okay, it looks as if it's not coming through as of yet, but we'll keep checking to ensure that we'll sort that line of communication out. So, Mr. Peterson, about this officiating, I know that, look, they've lifted the trophy already, so comments that were made previously about Argentina, probably by the Portuguese team, saying, look, how could you get a certain person to officiate our match, knowing that Argentina was still in the World Cup? You might as well give the World Cup to Argentina. Did it count for anything at all, or it was just bad losers?
Yes, well, for me, it's bad losing, because the world is watching the World Cup. The World Cup is not a community event. It is not a political party event. It is the World Cup. There will be mistakes. And you remember that you have a group of referees, about 57 or 58 of them, that have gone through screening, they've gone through the process, they've proved themselves all around the continent. They were not just taken from Europe or South America. So these referees are allotted games even before the World Cup. There's a brochure for the World Cup. that these things have been sorted in before the World Cup. And then there are previews. You have assessors. These assessors assess every game. Every referee assessors, match assessors, match commissioners. They assess all these games. It's not Gombe United versus Zamfara, if I will allow my brother and my friend. This is an international setting where things are done properly.
Let's bring him in. I hope that's not an indirect jab at him, because Gombe United is a fantastic football team. Mr. Gombe, can you hear us now? Okay, let me go to Aya. Aya's got questions. He's itching. He watched it in a different mindset. Nigeria wasn't playing, so he wasn't nervous as he would have been if Nigeria was playing. Go ahead, Aya.
Trust me, I was nervous at some point because I just couldn't take the tension of the penalty shootout at the end of the game. Well, Mr. Peterside, this is peculiar. The match, the France-Argentina match. Okay, Mr. Gombe, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you, but you are still faint. You sound too far away.
Oh well, we'll get to that. Let me just quickly ask you. For you, what's your takeaway from that match, the Argentina-France match that we saw? Perhaps lessons, being someone who has run a football team and who runs a sports. What are the takeaways, major takeaways for you in that match? What are lessons to learn?
Is that Gombe or me?
No, that's for Mr. Gombe. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure we'll get back to him. Well, Mr. Peterside, the question that I was going to ask you, this match was unique in a number of ways. From full time, went into extra time, went into a penalty shootout, and all of that. Well, it's not the first time we're seeing that, but for this World Cup, perhaps you would say it is peculiar. What are some of those things that you think are unique to this match in particular, beside the unwritten Messi-Mbappe competition, so to speak? What for you are major takeaways? I ask that against the background of the need for us to bring some of those, some of those lessons home to us here in Nigeria.
Well, let's leave the home factor now. We are very far away from what happened yesterday. Yesterday was football at its best. We had the finalists. Most times, World Cup finals are not spectacular. World Cup finals are all about the trophy. Take the trophy, play badly, take the trophy, go home. Yesterday was different. I watched every World Cup finals since 1978. I tell you the truth. Yesterday was football in display. It was great presenting of Mbappe's hat-trick. It has never happened in the history of football that somebody will score a hat-trick and still lose the World Cup. Now, why is that an issue? The issue there is you scored a hat-trick against Messi and you scored a hat-trick against Argentina, a side that is able to score 3 goals like you just scored. Yesterday was technical, tactical, football at its best. We didn't just see a lousy finals. We saw a finals full of goals. We saw 6 goals in a World Cup finals. It doesn't happen. The last time this happened was in, I think in 1950-something. We had seen this was technical. The goalkeeping, my goodness. I was a goalkeeper. Messi led a team yesterday. Kudos to France. They brought a great performance. You can't take anything from the French side. You cannot be 2 down 79 and you come back 2-2. No, who does that? It was great for football. And it was just beautiful sitting down and screaming, with friends and screaming just enjoying football for what it is. Even though I play, but it's something as watching football at this level. What I think we should learn, for me, we must have players, I've always said this, we must have players that are so committed to the flag, not to the football, to the flag. We saw players that were determined to die for their nation. We must come back to the love of country. Love of country comes first before football. Look at the reactions of the players. Look at the reaction of the nations. The desire for a nation to do well. We must bring that back to our football and bring that passion. Look at the pictures you're showing. This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I was in Qatar.
Well, go ahead and land on that statement.
Yes, I was in Qatar. You could see it's just something that cannot be scripted. We must come back to the place of nation building, loving our country, and deciding to show a lot more commitment to the nation.
Speak to the organization, speak to the hosting, Mr. Peter side of this particular tournament. A good number of things have been said, and the spectacle of the closing ceremony, I don't know where it came from. I mean, I've done TV for just a bit, but the graphics on the screen, on the stage, right there on the field, I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched so much football, but I don't know how that. Speak to the entire organization and the rest of the, irrespective of the build-up to the tournament.
It's classic. I was there, like I said. I watched 3 games of the World Cup. It is mind-boggling. While technology has come in, technology wasn't there for what we have 4 years or 8 years ago. Is quite different from what is there. You saw the stage. The stage came on, and they were able to send information to the stage where they could print names, I think, via Bluetooth. It's just mind-boggling. And what the Qataris did, like I said, they allowed us to be us. They allowed every visitor to be themselves. They wanted to be themselves, so they give us our space, but be yourself. So we had a great World Cup. And what I think FIFA will do from now, 2 things happened. The place of alcohol not being sold was the best, if there's anything like bestness, was the best decision. You can hear a story of hooliganism. We didn't hear a story of supporters fighting one another. There's no difference between drunkenness and madness, only that one lasts longer. Secondly, what we think we should be doing should be like the Olympics. The World Cup should be like the Olympics. What do I mean? You need to look for a city, one city, that can host the World Cup. So if we say Nigeria wants to hold the World Cup, it should be in Abuja, just Abuja. Why? The players did not travel. When we were in South Africa, when we were in Russia, we kept flying from one zone to another zone, the risk of changing hotels. The players did not change hotels. They stayed in one hotel. They did not change venues. They stayed in one city. That's why this World Cup was different.
We can take your comments now. I sincerely hope that we'll be able to take it. What for you are critical lessons to learn? One of the questions Chamberlain asked at the beginning of this program is, when will we get to this level as a nation in our football? What are those things, Mr. Gombe, that you think we need to employ from some of the lessons from Qatar 2022?
Yeah, thank you so much. Sadly, I'm just getting back to join you, but to make the basis of the time that we have. First and foremost, there are so many lessons to learn. And I just listened to Peter Saiter, enumerated some of these lessons that we are going to learn. But let us look at some lessons, those lessons, to reduce them to our own perspective in Africa, and particularly this in Nigeria. you can see that from the point of events management, it was world class. Technology was world class. Crowd management, world class. Almost every other thing, hospitality, visitors management, world class, and all that. But again, the perspective I'm trying to look at is that the participation of the recent African teams, particularly what Morocco, the achievement of Morocco into this tournament. World Cup, to be in the World Cup, it is not a 1 year or a 2 year program. You need 4 years, 5 years to prepare for this World Cup, and that is what Morocco did. The performance of Morocco is a product of a good investment. It's a product of good developmental program. It's a product of a good domestic league. It's a product of a national interest, and also it's a product of national priority. They have put all these things and put them right. Take, for instance, I remember 2 of the Moroccan teams that came to Nigeria recently to play in Port Harcourt and also to play in Lagos in our Tronican Stadium. That's Kwara United, Rivers United. For goodness sake, 2 days before their arrival, they sent the list of the menu list of the food the players are going to consume. This is just a local club. 3 days before their arrival, they sent an advance team with a doctor, with a security official, and also a technical official to come and check the hotel they are going to stay, the food they are going to eat, the person who's going to cook their food, and also to see where they are going to train, and even the stadium they are going to play. This is just and these are domestic. This is what they do with their domestic league and their clubs, and this translates into the national team, and you can see the outcome. Now, in terms of players, how many players do we use during the qualifiers? You find a coach that is managing our team will use 75 players with 3 matches. What does that mean? There is no consistency. Interest. Everybody has become a match agent. You want to introduce so and so player, you want to introduce another player. The coach will be confused. And of course, when you see some of these coaches are saying, okay, we are independent-minded. There is nothing like independent-minded as far as concerned, because those coaches are not appointed for a long-term achievement. They are appointed for short-term achievements. We need to be appointing our coaches for development, not for tournaments. Because when you appoint a coach, you said, okay, qualify us for this, reach this, you will never focus. I've always been saying, when we take the template of the Westerhoff era and look at over a period of time that he has been here, he has been to Calabar, he has been to Jos, he has been to Mina, he has been to Maiduguri, and even Boko, to watch our players and bring them out. He blend them with the few international, the few of them who are playing in diaspora or who are playing in other countries in Europe and part of other parts of the world. And blend them, and you saw the success. We end up.
So just before we go, gentlemen, in 30 seconds, if both of you can, Mr. Gombe, starting with you, do you think that Morocco setting the standards for Africa now, how soon do you think Africa can match up that standard or surpass what Morocco has done? Next World Cup or not?
Morocco, they have gone far. They have gone far, too far, honestly. They have raised the bar. Unfortunately, if we don't learn any lesson from what they do, it is good for us to bury our pride, to partner with them and ask for their template and see what have they done. What they have achieved is not a product of corruption. It's not a product of inefficiency. Okay. It's not a product of sentiment. It is a product of proper, careful planning, conscious program, and developmental program. Now, all right, Mr. Peter, Morocco.
Sorry, Mr. Gombe, we need to go. So let's just get a short one from Mr. Peter as well. Mr. Pisasai, do you see any other African team matching Morocco's standard at the World Cup soon or maybe much later?
Yes, it is possible. It's a combination of two things. One, you need the talent, and one, you need the management. Most times we have the talent, but we don't have the management or the willpower for people to take decisions. Okay. We need to have people with guts to take some decisions in club size and make our club size professional enough based on the talent. Then the people running our game must think outside the box. We must think outside the box.
All right.
Think the future.
We need to go, gentlemen. It's something that we'll have a lot more conversation about some of these things, such that because if Morocco has done it, it means it is possible in Africa. Thank you, gentlemen, Mr. Shuabu Gary Gombe and Ida Pisasai, for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got some feedback coming through from you. We've got this email from Salisu Gumel, who says, security is the key to any free and fair elections. INEC should know that some politicians are the problems of our democracy. INEC should resist all their shenanigans in making 2023 elections credible.
AGK says in this mail, we need to commend INEC on the job they have done so far. The politicians are buying PVCs from market women and co. because they have seen that the only way of rigging elections now is voter suppression. They are doing that to reduce the number of people that will vote in the elections, and this is a threat to our electoral process. People should know that selling your PVC is encouraging more years of poverty and insecurity.
Well, this one is coming from Henry, who says, vote buying or vote selling must be consistently preached against in our churches and mosques, with all religious leaders leading the way. Nigerians have to decide not to sell their votes. A buyer cannot buy if the seller is not willing to sell.
This one is from Kenneth on attacks on INEC offices. These acts of unjustifiable aggression may undermine the Commission's capacity to organize elections and possibly dent the nation's electoral process. The Commission's facilities are there to serve the electorate for the most fundamental aspect of democratic governance, which is elections. I therefore advise the federal government to hunt for those behind the acts and bring them to book.
Yeah. Very well said, all of you. Thank you once again for all your messages. Please do keep them coming. That is the show today. We thank you all for watching. Can you believe that? It's Christmas week, isn't it? Oh, dear. Oh, my goodness. How could I forget that? Mr. Countdown, you didn't remember. Why did you remind me of this?
Well, I reminded you.
I had to remind you. Can you beat that?
I reminded you, you just didn't know. Well, Friday is 23rd.
Maybe it was football. Football took the better part of me.
Yeah, well, I can tell. Friday is 23rd, and I hope we'll be able to have a special for Christmas. And, of course, Saturday, there's a special on Channels Television. So we're celebrating Christmas already.
Okay. All right. So it means perhaps with your permission, I'll tell them where you're holding the party. So just watch this space for that one. Yeah. Well, that is the show today. Thank you all for watching. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
And thank you for, by the way, there's always a virtual watch party. So, hey, I'm Ayo Makide. Have a wonderful rest of your day.